DC here. Hi guys and gals. Well, you can tell it's the weekend and I've got a little bit more time for vlogging. And I don't know, I must have looked at the weather wrong yesterday. I thought it was going to be a bad day. And finally I let Mrs. DC, she's working again, but go off with the car thinking like, well, anyway, I'll be staying home one way or another and scanning pictures, which finally is what I am doing most of the time. I'm taking a break on that. So no, I didn't go geocaching. Oh well, anyway. I did get things ready for the weekend, for next weekend. I talked about that yesterday. This is not going to be a beer vlog, don't worry. But I am going to be trying out a Hercules double IPA. It's something from Denver, Colorado. I've had it in the basement for a while, so I thought maybe I should drink it before it turns on me. And let's see. Oh, it's nice and dark, isn't it? Okay. So, what is going on? Well, since yesterday, I can't say there's all that much, but it's nice. Quite strong. Strong in the sense of, they say double, so maybe there's like the double of the bitterness, so to say. It says it's not for the faint of heart. However, it is for the gods. Hercules delivers a huge amount of hops. That's what I'm tasting from start to finish. Hefty backbone of nutty maltness, sweetness, and so on and so on and so on. Yeah, it's a nice beer. It's a good IPA. It might be a little bit, how could I say? Like I say, it's not for the faint of hearts. It's for those who really do like strong IPAs. Okay, anyway, that is the beer vlog. Okay, so we can stop and start talking about something else. So after packing pretty well all my stuff, got the camera away. I mean, I've got two cameras, so it's okay if I want to pull one out. I pulled out something kind of interesting. Today, for those of you who look on Facebook, you'll see I put a photobomb of a selfie. Actually, what that is, I was playing around because, as you know, I've got the green screen downstairs, but I didn't go down for the green screen. I had taken a picture when my first tries with the green screen, and there was the bench and everything. So I went into a program called Affinity Photo. Affinity Photo is, I was going to say, a poor man's Photoshop. When I say poor man, it's just because it's a lot cheaper, but it does pretty well everything that Photoshop does. I mean, it is a fantastic program, and it was not very expensive at all. The only thing is, for the moment, it's only on the Mac. There's a beta version for Windows, but I got to say, it really, really is worth it, because Photoshop now is only for subscription only, so that is very expensive over the long period. But anyway, what I did is I cloned out. You don't need this program for that, but I mean, other programs do that. I cloned out the bench using the clone tool, but cloning in the green screen, so to say. So by doing that, I mean, I took out the bench, and then I was able, if you make the brushes fine enough, I had like my arm like that, so I could remove the bench under my arm and stuff like that. So I, futzed around with backgrounds and so on, and put different backgrounds. I put one on. I didn't put that up on Facebook, but one was like, it's right in front of a hanging bridge on the Amazon and stuff like that, and I'm just practicing on the program that I have. And having done that, I mean, then I saw this Jaws one or whatever. It isn't actually Jaws, but you'll see on Facebook, it's this big shark. So I pulled that up, and then I'm using a green screen program for pictures called PhotoKeys 7 Pro. I think that's what it's called. And learning how to use it. So I thought, well, And the thing is, what's really cool with this particular software is that even if the green screens has some slight variations, or that on other programs, would come out as not always the same green exactly. It somehow takes that into account. There's another thing that it does, actually, I haven't tried that yet, but you can create shadows of the main person. so that it looks even more natural. Like if you were in a sunny setting, you know, where's the shadow? Well, you can make a shadow and stuff like that. So, you know, like I say, fooling around while I'm scanning and waiting for Mrs. DC to come home, but I'm working on it, yeah. And anyway, I mean, next weekend, well, now today's Sunday, so we'd be in Canada, so I mean, some things have to be done. So I was looking out. There's a thing that's come up though with the Canadian. I'll tell you that in just a second. I need to have a little glass of something, a little swallow. Yeah. America already had a system that, it's not a visa system, but kind of, that different countries, like Switzerland, for example, and I'm traveling with the Swiss passport. Different countries, like in America, you have to go to, it's called the ESTA. I don't remember what it's for, but it's like a mini visa, basically. You have to register. It's not very expensive, but you can only do it online, and you can only do it with a credit card. So I actually even say, and I've done it for friends who didn't know how and actually didn't even have a credit card. Let me move this around or walk around with you for a moment. And so what I did is this is the American side. Now I was talking about Canada. Now the Canadians, I guess, thought, oh, let's go get some money. Let's see if I can get out of the... So they thought like, oh, well, let's go get some money. And what they've done is they've done a very similar thing. So for son of DC's future wife, she's Spanish. So okay, that wasn't a problem for her. But as you see, we put up these things. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Yeah. So she's Spanish. So that was no big deal. I mean, I just went on the Canadian system and registered her. Of course, you do have to pay. It's always the same. I mean, nothing's going to be free in those things. But we're traveling with the Swiss passport. Now, you might say, why aren't you traveling with the Canadian one? Well, oops, I almost fell down. There's a vine there. For economical reasons. The Canadian passport was lasting. Let me see if I can get that here. That might be out. The impression was always a dark background. Got one of those like Gorilla Pod type things. Here we are. Yeah, so let me get back to my story. The Canadian passport was always, it was not as long. The period wasn't as long. It was a way big hassle to get for all the documents. Canadian passport was more expensive, and so on. So finally we always used the Swiss one. Now the Canadians, with this new little visa thing, of course if we're Canadian we don't need that visa, and it's actually even illegal to ask for it, and why would we? But if we come into the country only with the Swiss passport, they will ask you, well, why don't you have that little visa? So now I pulled out proof of citizenship, but what do we have as proof of citizenship? Bravo, Canada. You know that the Canadians, the older passports, don't prove that you're a citizen. Of course, you have to be a citizen to have a passport, but they don't prove you're a citizen. You can't use them. But anyway, I'm going to bring the old passport. Plus, I have what we call my birth certificate card, which is an official Quebec document with no picture on it. The only thing is, at least it's got a number, which I hope is still somehow accessible in the system. So yeah, and I've spoken about my son who was born here. I've spoken about him before on this respect, but he doesn't have a Canadian birth certificate. He would have a Swiss one, which wouldn't make a big deal for them. But he's got a Canadian citizenship card with a picture of a less than 1 year old. If it was a 3 or 4 month, 3 year old. No, not even that. Is it 3 weeks? Anyway, I'd have to go and check again. But it's like at the oldest 3 months, old year old baby on that. Yeah, there's a picture on that. But they told us that if we wanted, it's the official document. And I said, isn't this a bit ridiculous? And they said, well, yeah, you can always pay for a new one. And I said, okay, if I don't want to pay, is this one still the official document? Yeah, it is. So there you have it. So thank you, Canada. So when we go to Canada, I mean, I'm bringing all these old the other passports plus these documents, which kind of prove that we're Canadian. Might end up the only person who'll be able to get into the country will be my future daughter-in-law. Anyway, strange, isn't it? I mean, the way countries go. I mean, the main thing behind that, actually, I think, is the whole money deal. But of course, I mean, traveling with a Swiss passport, especially since I travel mostly around Europe, is a big advantage. I mean, because the queues when you get it, if you have to line up somewhere for a queue, it's always like European plus Swiss, and then there's another line for others, which count like Canadians and so on. So you traveling with the Swiss passport here in Europe makes things a lot easier, and like I said, it's a lot less expensive. Oh well, maybe one way or another, maybe we'll have to get a Canadian passport again. And like I say, I never really felt the need to since I got the Swiss one, but whatever. Yeah, so once we're going to be in Canada, what's on the plans, aside of course from traveling within family circles, will be to go to the Maritimes, the eastern provinces in Canada. We will be driving like along the St. Lawrence River. We're not going to be driving through the States. We're going to be staying in Canada, so driving along the St. Lawrence River up to a place called Rivière-du-Loup, and then driving down through New Brunswick towards Fredericton. It's longer in kilometers, but it is all highway all the way. And we're just kind of staying within the country that way. No border crossing once we're in there. And once we get down we'll be going down towards Fredericton in New Brunswick. Maybe if we're lucky, maybe we'll meet up with Katie. So Oopspa. But I don't know, it'll depend on her actually, because we're only staying there for one night in Fredericton. And then from Fredericton, we're driving on towards Nova Scotia, where we'll be going to a place called Lunenburg. And Lunenburg is a World Heritage village, city, or whatever. You would have to look it up on Google, but you'll see how beautiful it looks, at least. And that is quite close to, not very far from Halifax, but it's also, I was going to say, close to a place called Peggy's Cove, which is something pretty important for two aspects. One is a very beautiful touristic place, but it was also where one of the Swiss airplanes crashed about maybe 20 years ago, and we want to go over there actually. And I was going to say almost pay respects. It was a big thing. I mean, that was a plane took off from Halifax, which seems a bit strange because there are no flights to Halifax. I don't get the whole story there. I don't know exactly why. But anyway, that's where it crashed. And then once we'll be driving around. We're going to stay a few days. We're going to make our base in Lunenburg and drive to places around from there. And from Lunenburg, then we're going to make a real marathon, because we're going to drive all the way back to Quebec City. And so we'll be 4 drivers, so that's okay. And all the way back to Quebec City, where we'll be meeting my mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and her husband, and we will stay that first night, which will basically be where we'll try and crash out probably on the first night, and take the second day to walk around and visit Quebec City a little bit, and come back. And I mean, basically that'll be it. So second son of DC is going to be here taking care of the house and stuff, so we feel a little bit more at ease, of course, to be away for a while when somebody is taking care of the house. Anyway, that's it. That's all. Yeah, so DC signing off, everybody. Take care. Have a nice Sunday. Cheers, Slancha, Santé. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Bye-bye.